Hi, this is Lay-Ean Eng from GoKids. Today I'm in John's office and I'm going to talk to John about Flag Day for September the 3rd. And before I do that, I'll just do a quick introduction about John. And this is John Vaughan. And John is a vexillographer and is considered to be Australia's leading authority on the design, ethic, protocol and history of flags. He has been Chief Executive of the Royal Australian Historical Society and was appointed by Sir Colin Hines to help launch the Australian National Flag Association in 1983. John served as President of ANFA New South Wales for many years and proposed the concept of Australian National Flag Day at the inaugural public meeting. After 13 years as an annual National Day of commemoration since 2008, 3rd September, is also officially proclaimed Merchant Navy Day. So today John is going to talk to you about Australia Flag Day for 3rd of September. So welcome, John.
Well, it's a time for celebrations because the 3rd of September this year, our national flag will be 111 years old. So it's one of the world's oldest flags. And why are we celebrating the flag's birthday? Well, we're celebrating Australia by celebrating our national flag, because the national flag of stars and crosses is the chief national symbol of the Australian nation, and it represents all people, whatever race, colour, creed. If they're Australian, they're represented by this beautiful flag in its fantastic colours. And of course the flag is very meaningful because it's got the Southern Cross, which indicates our position in the Southern Hemisphere. It's got what's called the Commonwealth Star, which is right behind your head here. This is the Commonwealth Star. Oh, let's have a look at the Southern Cross down there that we just mentioned. You can see it with all those beautiful stars. They're 7-pointed stars with one little 5-pointer. And the constellation of the Southern Cross, when you look at it in the sky, one star, Epsilon, is very hard to see in comparison to the others. So hence the smaller 5-pointed star on the Southern Cross. So that gives us our position in the Southern Hemisphere. This star up here represents the Federation of Australia. In other words, this star of 7 points says that we consist of, as a nation, 6 Australian states, and one extra point, whichever one you want, represents all our federal territories, like the Northern Territory, like the Australian Capital Territory, known as the ACT. So the whole of the continent of Australia is included in that federal star, or sometimes it's called the Commonwealth Star, because Australia is a Commonwealth of Australia. Up here there's some traditional crosses, and I'm going to point to them so you can see them. This one is the cross of St. George. This white cross down here is called a saltire. It's the cross of St. Andrew. And finally there's part of another cross. As you can see, it goes right through down here. That is the cross of St. Patrick. And that represents the beginnings of the you might say the foundation people of modern Australia. Had the Aborigines and the Torres Strait Islanders already here, and the new settlers who came, who brought a new civilization that we hopefully enjoy today, were from what they call the British Isles. And of course that's where our democracy actually started. It started to develop. Hopefully we've even improved upon that as we go on. But that's why we have parliamentary democracy. That's why we have the rule of law. That's why we have freedom of speech, because that was part of the inheritance of the Australian nation. So you have a very meaningful flag. Maybe the blue could be representing the blue of the skies and the oceans. And here you have, of course, a gold fringe around this particular flag. That's the ultimate compliment you can give to a national flag. Well, the question is, how did we get our national flag? Did it get appointed as the nation's flag? No, it didn't. We actually had a public competition. Australia is a very democratic country, as we've just mentioned earlier on, and sure as eggs, here in Australia we decided that we would ask the people what sort of national flag they wanted. So this was back in 1900, just before Australia federated, that is, became an actual sovereign nation. So the people of Australia put in their entries. There were 32,823 entries in a competition started by a magazine called the Review of Reviews for Australasia. And these entries poured in, and 5 people in the competition came up with the identical design. Now, behind me here, I have the original Australian flag, or the pattern of stars. You notice there's a very slight difference. You have larger stars, and they're of slightly different numbers of points, 9, 8, 6, and 5. And up here, the Commonwealth star, I'll just show you this one, has only 6 points rather than 7, representing just the states of Australia. And of course the Southern Cross, with its varying points, was representing the brightness of the stars in the sky. So when you look to the sky, you can see some stars on the Southern Cross are a little bit easier to see. They're bigger, or they appear bigger to us. And so that was depicted on the original pattern of the flag. And the flag, of course, was chosen and the results known on the 3rd of September 1901. And that is the day we celebrate Australian National Flag Day, the 111th anniversary of the choice of our national flag. On that day, of course, there was a great big ceremony in what was then our Federal Parliament House. It was at the Royal Exhibition Buildings in Melbourne. And that was the centre of Australia at that time for the Parliament. And the Parliament sat there, and above the Parliament there was a dome, a beautiful structure with a big flagpole up above it. And on that flagpole, on the 3rd of September at about 2:30 in the afternoon, there was a strong southerly wind blowing, and a huge Australian flag, some 11 metres long by 5.5 metres wide, was raised in this stiff breeze. The Master of Ceremonies for the day, the MC as they called him, was none other than our first Prime Minister, Edmund Barton. The guest of honour was the wife of our first Governor-General. And of course there was a large crowd, and there was an exhibition of hundreds and hundreds of the designs that had been rendered or passed in for the competition. There was also 2 sewn flags of that size showing what the Australian flag looked like. So you had the big one on the roof, on the big flagpole, and then you had the small ones on display. And this is a replica of one of those small ones in the display. Anyway, of course, that set our flag flying, and the flag was used on national occasions. It was then later on taken to the First World War. It became the official flag of the Australian Army in 1908, and of course it was used by the Royal Australian Navy when that was started in 1911. It was flown at the bow, that is the front end of the ships. And of course today the Royal Australian Navy still uses the Australian national flag, as we all do, because it's such a great looking flag and it's got such a great history. I hope all that made sense.
That was very good, and that's all about the history of the flag, how the flag came about, and the design, and when it all started. That was a very, very educational segment, John.
Well, at the schools next week, there will be a memorandum. This is an email message that comes out from the Education Department to ensure that the Flag Day is celebrated. So at your school, make sure the flagpole's ready, and you might have a ceremony at the assembly. And of course there is a website, www.australianflag.org.au, plus your wonderful GoKids website. It's fantastic. Congratulations on that. And you can get all the information how you can and should celebrate Australian National Flag Day.
Thank you. So all the information will be on the website and on YouTube segment as well. So thank you very much, John.
Keep your flag flying.
Keep your flag flying. Thank you.